I'm Davor from Croatia, and I'll show you how we applied Lean and Agile principles to our enterprise architecture project. Okay, so it's really easy to understand what enterprise architecture is. It's a set of well-defined principles, practices, which when applied holistically, lead you through development and execution of your strategy, of the strategy of your company. And then there are even a number of frameworks to help you with the enterprise architecture. And there are even more than this. These are just the most popular one. But the problem is that, according to some researchers, more than 80% of the enterprise architecture projects fail to achieve the strategy. So the question is why? Where's the problem? Maybe the problem is in the misunderstanding of the enterprise architecture. Maybe people think that it's just a list of questions, and when you answer all the questions correctly, you'll be happy in no time. Or maybe people have unrealistic expectations. If we start today, within a month or two, we'll be in perfect state in our environment. Or maybe the frameworks are not good enough. Obviously, enterprise architecture is currently in the crisis. There are a lot of blog posts and articles on this topic at the moment. So we started this project to redesign the core IT environment in a very high-profile Croatian ministry. It's a Ministry of Justice, but they don't like to be mentioned around, so I'm referring to them as a Ministry of highly profiled Croatian ministry. They have their IT system is about 7 to 10 years old and basically consists of 3 subsystems. The first one is the state attorney and related activities subsystem. The second one is the court justice, judges and everything related to them. And the third one is, of course, prisons and probations and the supporting activities. Those subsystems work correctly if looked at independently. You know, they are designed, well designed, and basically those subsystems act as expected. But if you want, for example, to say, to answer this simple question, how many women are currently in the whole system? You know, in the prosecution phase, during the trials, and in prisons, they will have hard time achieving, simply finding that number. So they realize that they have to change something in their environment. And we started this project earlier this year, around the beginning, actually, of this year. And I sat down with their chief information officer and asked him, okay, so what do you want from this project, from this redesign? If we simply, if you come at work the very next day when we will have this new redesigned system, what do you want to do? You know, it's Monday, you have new environment, and what you want to do that very first day. And he said this: at work, I just want to serve the net. Yeah, interesting sentence, really. Because at the moment, he's so overwhelmed with the everyday operational tasks that he simply doesn't have any time for anything else. And he just wants to serve the net. He also said, skip as is analysis, assessments, and so on. I already know that I have problems. That's why we are here. And said that his idea is to have a frictionless, his words, frictionless IT system, where he will be able to think about improving the system, not only keeping it alive. Quite reasonable requirements, right? And this is actually what he wanted to say. He wanted to say, okay, let's plan for an ideal IT environment. Forget the past. Let's plan the environment in the way how it should be, and then allow it to adapt to change. allow the information to flow through the system and release me from the operational tasks. This is the whole idea of this project. Obviously, we needed a different approach because if we would take the same approach, we would at the end come to the same situation. We needed something differently here. Frameworks, reference models, everything is okay, but obviously the execution of those models is questionable. And of course, Lean and Agile come naturally in this environment. And it is really interesting how these ideas fit into enterprise architecture environment. Probably the most important thing we had to solve is why do we even have this IT system? It's a simple question, why do we have this IT system? But obviously the answer is not so. Do we have it so that the judges and lawyers and everybody else can work faster? Or maybe, 19th century way of thought. Or maybe we should think how to provide the better service to our customers. Where's the value in this system? What flows through the system? And it took us 2 months to realize this. Standard Lean sentence. Value is defined at the receiver side. So it took us 2 months to understand that we need to put the receiver, and for the government, that's the citizen, in the center, and to start building around it. So we need to discover the value from the receiver side, from the citizen side. And for the Ministry of Justice, we discovered the value as the case. Somebody press charges and so on, and then the case is created, and we need to allow that case, that value, to flow through the system. Currently, they have a case opened in the attorney subsystem. Then when it's finished, then they print some papers and then bring it to the court subsystem, retype it, and so on and so on. Obviously not so good. We needed to discover the value, and it was the case. Then we simply started to focus on the flow of that value. When we said, okay, the case needs to flow, we simply skipped all the borders within their environments. There wasn't anymore us versus them, judges versus prison or prison versus attorneys. It's all the one system, one complete and holistic system. We were able to finally start to think cross-department. And we did our value stream mapping and discovered what's actually needed in such a system. After that, we could focus on waste elimination. This is just a almost standard lean agile procedure. Find the value, let it flow, eliminate waste. It's unbelievable how many wastes they have in their system. Data duplication, everything times 3. It's really hard currently to pull anything meaningful from those data because it's so disparate all across their system. Implemented features all around. It's so hard to keep, for example, to have the legislation implemented correctly, because you have to implement it, let's say, 3 times, and then maintenance of all that. Simply by looking at the system as a one holistic system and eliminating basically overproduction, right? We could achieve some really good gains. We now can finally go paperless because the information, the case, will flow through the system. We don't need any more printing and retyping and so on. And at the end, to be more simple than the current. system. And this was the most technical part. All activities before were related to the way they think, the way they approach the problem. And finally, when it clicked, then we could do some real technical architectural work. The next step was collaboration. Every enterprise architecture project must deal with the organization, how to maintain something which is set up through during this project. And by skipping the borders and looking at the system at the whole, we could inaugurate a non-traditional enterprise architecture office. Traditional enterprise architecture office is enterprise architects and some stewards who deal with certain technical aspects, data or security or something. Now we have an enterprise architecture office which is more like a community of business people, people who know a lot of about legislation, about the processes, and we finally have them at the same place. And we finally can have a common execution plan, simply by putting them together. And we finally can have understanding on priorities, because everybody now talks. What we have actually delivered, because every project must have some deliverables, of course, is this architecture vision as a common application platform. We said, okay, probably 80% of each system could be extracted to some common architecture platform underground. And then on top of that platform, we will build the processes. New organizational structure, of course. And the very important thing is this transition plan, because it's impossible to achieve something like this within a month or 3. We will probably need, I don't know, 3 years or something. But at least we know where we are going, and we know what the ideal state is. We won't be in the ideal state, that's for sure. But at least we know where we altogether know where we want to be. So, transition plan, list of projects to reach the ideal state. Currently, we have some priorities, but it will change for sure, of course, let's say after next phase or so. And it was a really successful project, especially in the public sector. You know how the public sector is. They think differently. Okay, but the Minister of Justice signed this document as the way we do IT, or the way we do it. Because they realized that they need to change, and they need to take different approach to this. However, we just started. That was the first phase, which finished a few months ago. Next month, we will start with the next phase, which is basically lean enterprise. You know, it's easy to set your environment and say, okay, this is a nice picture, and we enjoy it. But because the Ministry of Justice doesn't have their own development, they need to outsource everything. So how to fix that supply chain, how to communicate with the suppliers to deliver in such an environment full of communication. It's different to vendors as well. Then agile contracting, really hard issue. Public procurement and agile contracting, no habla. Really, it will be quite interesting next 3 months for me and the ministry. So the problems actually we faced were continuous improvement in hard budget environment. they have a budget at the beginning of the year, and the ministry must say, okay, we will do this like this, and in this way, and in these steps, which is, of course, impossible to predict, like they know what they will be doing next year, please. But so now we need to find a way to flow through this hard budget environment, and still a lot of misunderstanding. Why lean agile approach? I mean, okay, because everything else doesn't work, but you cannot say that. And what is actually lean and agile? So, lessons learned from this project. Okay, look for the value. Ask yourself, why do we have this IT system? Where's the value? What is the value? Once you find the value, let it flow. It will open many doors and many ideas. Skip frameworks, skip as-is analysis, look for the ideal picture. And teach your customers lean and agile principles. And then apply your framework of choice. Reading list for your customers, just basic things. This is lean and lean thinking. And reading list for you if you want to know more. And contact information if you want to ask me anything else. We have a few minutes, 3 minutes maybe. 3 minutes now or after, anytime. Okay. Thanks.